side of parenting on all forms, whether you're a parent, single parent, co-parenting, or if you grew up in a single household. Either way, these are just our opinion and our experience, what we went through. Please don't take any offense to it. Hopefully at the end of the show, you can find some useful information where it was helpful to you and your situation. Allow me to welcome my next guest, Cam, a lady who doesn't like her name to be changed. So I'm going to be naughty and call her Cam, but it's really Camile. How you doing, Miss Camile?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. First and foremost, thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
No problem.
What would you say about yourself? Introduce yourself. I give the light, not slousy, like a light introduction to give you room to introduce yourself.
I'm Camile. I have 2 children, 2 good daughters, both fully fledged in the teenage years. I am a good friend. I am a good sister. I don't know what else to say, but I'm sure you'll find out.
Good friend, good sister. Mm-hmm.
And good mum.
And a brilliant mum. Mm-hmm. 2 beautiful girls. How old are your girls?
17 on the 30th and 12 in August.
Wow. So basically 16 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you jumped the years.
Yeah.
16 and 11, ladies and gentlemen. Same fathers? No. Different fathers. Mm-hmm. Let's start with the 17-year-old. Mm-hmm. Can we ask your age?
I am 36.
36?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, amazing. If my maths corrects me, you were 36, take away 17, that's 26. You was 19. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's amazing. Let's go back to the 19-year-old you. Was you in a relationship with the father of the child? How long was the relationship?
A year.
A year? And how long had you known each other previously to that?
Not long at all. So it was 3 months before I got pregnant, and then 9 months, obviously, it's pregnancy, so that makes 12.
So you were together for 3 months?
Yeah. Then I got pregnant, and then I was there obviously with him, unfortunately, for the duration of the pregnancy, and managed to escape 1 month before. Was it before she was born? Yeah, before she was born.
Okay, interesting choice of words. Managed to escape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what we talking about? In was it abusive? Was it controlling?
Yeah, so it was. I think 6 weeks. I think the emotion. What I didn't know was the emotional abuse was happening in the first 3 months. So by the time I was pregnant, and I think. In my head, I keep thinking 6 to 8 weeks into my pregnancy, the violence started, and then so it was like the whole pregnancy was violent, and then I managed to escape. 1 month before my daughter was born.
When we say violent, what was the worst kind of violence that happened?
Because it's a very long time ago. The only thing that I can remember. Was when people have allergic reactions to colour dye and their eyes flare up and they can't see, it looks like little slits for eyes. That's what happened to both my eyes, because it gave me 2 black eyes. Yeah.
Wow. Did you report this situation?
I didn't report that situation, but I tried to speak to someone about it in the police station, but I wasn't confident enough to actually tell everything, because I was very scared, because obviously it takes a long time to be able to say this is actually happening to you, because it's not that you're in denial, but you're scared, because they know, it's a scary situation, and they threaten you, and you get worried, and you feel ashamed that this is happening to you. And also it wasn't a well talked about conversation that people were having back in 2005, 2006. It was, obviously it's always been happening, but it's also been seen as it's a shame. And it's a shame that's on the woman, because the woman didn't leave, but no one's talking about the shame on the man for being a perpetrator. So I wasn't able to tell anybody until I left, and that's when the ball got rolling of going to the police, getting an injunction or restraining order. Yeah.
And obviously you're young. 19 is very young. How old was he at the time?
He was about a year older than me, so about 20.
So I'm assuming the first 3 months when you lot got together, he exhibited no signs of such behaviour.
He didn't exhibit any physical behaviour. No, like I cannot remember. Like we're talking 17 years ago now. I can't remember any physical violence before. But what I learned subsequently afterwards that domestic violence actually increases in pregnancy. So if it wasn't happening before, it's more than likely going to start. Obviously not all men. I'm just mean in those kind of abusive relationships, the violence starts because you're in a more vulnerable position when you're pregnant and it's harder to leave. Well, back there it was. So obviously over the years I've learnt about domestic abuse and the signs and not symptoms but the signs, and so thinking back on how it started and how how intense it was in the first 3 months. It was really intense, really, really intense, and obviously that's not a good sign now on reflection.
No, not at all. And where was he from? Like, what origin is he from?
His mum is Caribbean, I'm going to assume Jamaican if I can remember. And his dad, I didn't meet his dad, but I think his dad was maybe white, Turkish. I thought he was black because he looks like a light-skinned black person and his mum's black. So it's not until I got to know him, not that it's a problem, him being mixed race, but yeah, I found out that his dad was white.
So with that speaking, years gone on, first daughter's here. Did you try reach out to him, like for your daughter's sake?
So when I left, he put in like and I had a restraining order, he put in like an application to try and see her. And so he went to court, but he didn't turn up. So the court just threw it out and said, it's case closed, he hasn't turned up, it's not going to be granted, whatever it was, because I can't remember. But his family never tried to reach out to me. No one tried to reach out from his family and say, would like to see the baby or will support you. It was very much, I left and they just became non-existent. And the reason why, also one of the most crucial reasons why it was really hard to leave him, because he lived directly opposite. So I lived at number 20 and he lived at number 33. So it wasn't a case of, getting on the bus and travelling from east to west or whatever. So, and you've got that space in between. It's literally walking out your front door and crossing the road. And I don't know if you saw Top Boy. I haven't seen anyone depict what it was like to leave so clearly as it did in Top Boy. And do you remember when... what's her name? The woman that's pregnant, she's in this lingerie shop and she's like got a split second decision to go. And that's what it was like. The day I left, it was literally split second, like I need to go. So you had to
pack your stuff.
I didn't have a lot of things there, but what was there I just left behind.
Was you living with parents?
My mum and my sister.
So did your mum and your sister all move out the house, or did you stay in the house?
No,
or did
I
he
stayed
move?
there and managed.
So what was it like if you open the door and he's just there?
Well, I had a restraining order, so he kind of, I think, and also it was under police investigation, so it was kind of like he left me alone because he knew that there was higher powers
But
involved.
Did you see him?
No, thankfully I managed not to see him. So in the first month of me leaving, he found me and he attacked me. I fell over and it knocked my daughter, so it just made it a bit complicated. But after that, I didn't see him, and he's very much sort of he tries to be out of sight.
Because he's ashamed.
Yeah, and even before that, his character was very, very sort of shifty. It wasn't, he just had an interesting character that was like, very paranoid. So it's not like he was just be out on the street and things like that.
So baby's born.
Mhm.
After all of that, what was that like for you? Because now we're not talking about co-parenting. Now there's just you, your sister, and your mum. Were you the oldest anyway? So your sister probably thinking, what's going on? Why, so just you and your mum.
Yeah.
Co-parenting's out the window. What was that like?
Oh, it feels like, when you go through parenting, you go through the stages, so you don't really remember the baby stage until you've got a baby. It's like if someone gives me a baby right now, I'll be like, oh, I remember when they're a baby. Because they're older, you kind of just travel through. So I can't remember too tough what it was like. From pictures, it seems like things were okay. And I was sort of just getting back to myself, or trying to, what's the word? Just become myself again and try and work through what had happened. And funnily enough, I didn't work through anything. No one was really talking about it. Therapy wasn't really discussed, especially in our community, wasn't really discussed at that time. So it was more or less, it was there yesterday, it's a new day today, and now I'm a parent, and I'm just keep parenting my baby the best that I could.
What's that conversation like with your daughter? When the first one, your oldest one, when she asked about her dad? So
when she was younger, I just used to say, your dad is, I can't remember if I said I had to go away, or, I tried to be as kind about it as possible. And then as she got older, I said in not so many words that me and your dad aren't together because it wasn't a very safe situation to be in. And that's why we're not together. She, around the age of 14, 15, that's when she started like, I want to see my dad, I want to try and get to know him, whatever. And I said, because I've got PTSD, I can't have anything to do with it, but you should reach out to this person, so one of my friends, be able to initiate something a lot better. So she did try, and I knew, like inside, I knew that her reaching out, he is not gonna, not that he won't be interested, but what did I think? He would eventually start talking about me, not make it about her. And so my friend wrote a letter, went back to where he lived all those years ago. I wasn't sure if he still lived there, but he was there. She had a conversation with him, and then she took his number and gave it to my daughter. My daughter spoke to him a handful of times, and then he made up some lie and said the only people that knew that this was happening was my friend and myself, nobody else. Right, that my friend was trying to help my daughter get in contact with her dad. They're the only people that were that knew. I didn't have his number, nothing. She's the only one. And he said to her, she tried to reach out to him, and he shouted at her or something like that. I can't talk to you anymore. People have warned me not to talk to you. And I just shook my head and I said, I'm really sorry, Saffron. That's a complete lie. And then subsequently she's kind of left it alone, and then tried to reach out again. And then the last time was like, I knew like what I thought was correct, because he said to her, we shouldn't be going through your auntie, it should be between me and your mum. He's trying to reach back out to you. And I said, there's no reason for it to be between me and him, absolutely none, because she's old enough. I'm not going to just obviously let her go outside by herself, but it doesn't have to be anything to do with me. So when he said that, I just knew. I was like, no, I can't. And she was like, Mom, please. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't. And that must have been a hard decision for you, saying no to her. But at the same time, it's for your safety, and maybe who knows, for her safety too. What's also interesting is the fact that you allowed your daughter, I think it's the right thing to do, for you to allow your daughter to see her father regardless of what he went through with you, because in some part of you probably were thinking, well, he was like that with me, maybe he's not going to be like that with my daughter. And plus, you don't want to take that away from your daughter. Not a lot of people would do that. A lot of people would say, you know what, nope, because he did this, so
well done to you.
I completely understand why people would say no.
I would too.
Yeah,
I would too.
think I would say God protected me for a very long period of time from anything happening, because 1 in 3 women are killed every week leaving domestic violence, not in it, but leaving. So imagine you're in this relationship, you want to leave, and death is the end result. And thankfully, I've been okay. So as much as we were protected, I was safe. I got into another relationship, but I had that exact same thought. I said, well, he did everything to me while I was pregnant with her, but he hasn't done anything to her. So maybe this is part of her development. It's not even something you can't erase. It's like saying, oh, I need to, you can have a baby by yourself. He doesn't need a father. It's like, okay, you might not need the man, but that doesn't stop the child needing the man. It's part of their development. So I had to, it's like identity. You're building your identity. You want to know yourself. You're always going to be curious. So even if it didn't happen at 14, it might have happened at 24, 25, 30, and so on and so forth. So I took that decision. I was like, go to this person because they'll be able to support you. And who knows? I just said to her, because he's not been able to engage with her, I just said, look, he probably does love you, but he's just not able to be there for you right now. Rather than, yeah.
Even still now, you're saying nice things about him. Wow.
Because it's not about him,
it's
about her. And I need to protect how she feels, because what right do I have to turn around and say, oh, your dad doesn't love you and this, that and the other? Well, for one, I don't know how truthful that is. And she has to make her own choices and her own journey. I reached out to my dad because he wasn't in my life and had to go through that part of my life. And she sadly will have to do the same thing. So it's not about being kind to him, it's about being kind to my daughter.
Do you understand how powerful and beautiful it is what you just said? It's not about him, it's about her, because I believe a lot of co-parenting break down because parents don't have your point of view. If we could just all agree as humans, it's not about us, it's about the kids. And the kids have nothing to do with it in 90% or 99 or in pretty much 100% of the time. But yet still, because our pain, it stops us and we start using the child. So I think
when
that's
it
amazing.
comes to the DV, if she had been raised in it, my thought process would be completely different. Like, I'm not advocating for violent people to still have access to their children especially while they're young. So I'm not going to say, it doesn't matter if he was violent to you and the children are involved, he should still see the children. Because when you become a parent, you have to hopefully have a level of emotional availability and have a level of stability. That means that you're safe enough to be around your children, because as a parent, you're there to impact their development. So if you are a parent who isn't those things, and your behaviours to the mum, let's say, your behaviour to the parent is going to be impacting the children. So the way you facilitate co-parent is going to be completely different, because sometimes parenting, especially in those environments, is more about control, not what's best for the child.
Yes.
It's more about controlling the mum, so then in turn controls the children.
Yes, that's that. But I'm just grateful. Guys, for those of you, she's a DV. Those of you who don't know what DV means, domestic violence is abbreviated. So that's gone, right? We then have a second daughter.
Yes.
How old is your second daughter?
She's 11.
11.
Yeah.
So that's a 6-year gap.
Yes.
What was it like now choosing? So now you're 25 at that time. What was it now like choosing a partner? I'm sure due to your previous relationship, you must have had a lot of requirements and stipulations, and you better now. You can make more informed decisions. What's that choosing process like?
I think you make informed decisions based on the growth that you apply to yourself or the knowledge that is available for you to grow. It's a bit like assuming because someone's 55 that they have a level of maturity that a 25-year-old doesn't. But every single day you age, but not every single day you mature. Maturing is...
Ladies and every single day you age, but not every single day you mature. I'm gonna caption that on my IG.
And we don't have a choice. So I think between 19 and when I got with my partner, I don't think I'd been in therapy. I hadn't been diagnosed with PTSD. I kind of just got back. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, please.
I just got back on with it, if you know what I mean. So I obviously knew not to stay with someone who was violent, but I didn't still have better choosing skills at finding other people apart from not being violent and not cheating. Because I've never cheated, and touch wood, I don't think I've been with anybody that's cheated on me. So in my head, I'd attracted men that weren't violent and weren't cheaters, but didn't necessarily have the same requirements that I would require now as I would have thought back then.
That's a very, very, very valid point, which a lot of us don't even think about or realize, because we just associate age with maturity and growth. And you just admitted that at that time you wasn't. And I guess to some extent you didn't have time because you had a baby to raise. You're still young, as you said. Everything is just happening. It's just literally just happening. So now you with this new partner. How long was you with him before getting pregnant?
About 18 months.
Your honeymoon period's just like explosive, isn't it? Jesus. So the first one was 3 months. This one's 18 months. I mean, okay, there's a 10-month gap with improvement. So then, pregnant? What was that pregnancy like?
That was perfect. I couldn't ask for a better pregnancy.
Baby's born? How long did you then stay together?
6 years.
Oh, that's a big improvement.
Thank you.
The next one's for life.
Yeah.
The next one's for life.
Probation, and now move on.
So 6 years, what was it like for him as well as for you? Because he's had to take on another child who's not his, but for the love that he has for you and his child, I'm assuming it was one family. What was that like, parenting? Because this is new to you now, parenting in a mum and dad together.
It gave me what I wanted, which was a family and stability. That's what I've always wanted. Even if the first one wasn't the way he was, we would still been together. I'm not just having kids to keep traveling through. That's, I believe in having a baby with the one that you love, the one that you want to build a future with, and staying with that person. So I wouldn't have seen any reason to leave, which is not necessarily a good thing. But I believe that when you get in a relationship, you try and work things out, which is probably why I stayed 6 years instead of leaving after 2 years.
So you think you should have left after 2 years?
I believe that people are seasonal. People are there for a reason or for a lifetime. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of women have babies with seasonal men. And he's not a bad dad. I wouldn't call him a bad dad at all, although he's not able to parent, but he's not a bad dad.
He's not a bad dad.
No.
Are you co-parenting at the moment?
No, we're in communication, but we're not able to parent because he's not physically in a picture.
So on that one, I want to touch on your eldest daughter now. So she meets him. 6 years, he's her dad. It's not going to fill the gap that she has for her biological dad, but I'm sure you probably saw the change, that how nice she was having a man role model in the house.
I think so.
When you then broke up with him, what was it like for her then?
She was she was happy that we broke up because she said, Mum, you used to argue a lot, and we did. We was very... I had poor communication skills, really poor communication
Well, you
skills.
or him or the both?
Both of us. Our upbringings didn't match. A lot of things, like, that's what I mean about having babies with seasonal people, because I wasn't aware of the skills required for a relationship. I genuinely just thought you just don't cheat. You get with a partner and you just don't cheat on them, not knowing that it takes a lot more required of you in being in a relationship. And I was a good mum. I thought I was being a good partner, but my communication skills were off. And we're raised in different households from different cultures. My household is very much shouting. We communicate a lot through shouting. It gets said through shouting, whereas his household is very, very quiet and it doesn't get said. It's sort of stiff upper lip, sort of...
Where's he from?
He's white, so completely different worlds. And I knew my world very well. He knew his world very well, but clearly didn't know mine, and I didn't know his. And I assumed that... I don't think I assumed that he communicated the same, but I didn't think it would be what it was, which was we don't talk about it. Whereas in my family, even though it was shouting, we still spoke about it.
So you wanted to talk, he wanted to be quiet.
Yeah.
He wanted to be quiet, you wanted to talk.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
What's your problem? Go away.
And you pick behaviours up that are modelled to you through your parent, which you don't know at the time may not be as healthy. You're only going to do what you know until someone points out and says, actually, that's not the right way to communicate with someone. And I wasn't seeing relationships as a blueprint. So I didn't have a blueprint for relationships. Everyone's taught to have a mum and a dad and 2 kids and a dog and have a house. But if you haven't seen it modeled to you, it's a bit like a pipe dream. It's like a fantasy. You just get the person, but you don't have to necessarily keep the person. I kept him, but there's obviously a lot more required of you to keep it going long term. And if you're not communicating well, if you're don't have the support, like family support and people showing you like the right way to go in terms of relationships, and being like, I think there's lots of talk about men wanting peace, men wanting respect, certain skills that I wasn't taught until in the last couple of years. And if we'd had that back then, things might have been different for us. Who knows? We just don't know.
Wow. You seem so ready for the next relationship.
I don't know. Depends on what's presented to me, because I not long come out of a relationship.
Oh, so this is how long you been single then?
Since October, November.
Okay, so you're fresh. No, then you just take your time. Heal.
I'm fresh.
Heal. Take your time. What's the most difficult part of being a single parent? In your circumstances, because you got 2 men who are unable to help you physically.
I said to myself the other day, I said, I'm a terrible father. I am a terrible father, completely. I am not a father in the slightest. I am just a mum, which is not wrong at all. But I think it's that when it's mum and dad, even if I'm with you and you make a decision I don't agree, we're both presenting ourselves as parents to the children and saying yes or no. We're a united front, so we're both bad or we're both good, hopefully, if you're in that healthy kind of dynamic. But when you're on your own, you got to be good and bad all the time. And sometimes I find it hard to know, am I making the right decision, because there isn't anyone to have that back and forth with. And I have a lot of single mother friends, but I'm on the opinion that I'm very much that, as much as I'm a single parent, it's important for fathers to be in your children's life, like no matter what, as long as it's safe. But children deserve, and it's very important for their development. And I find the opinion sometimes of some people is that it's not necessarily conducive to it's not necessarily the right decision. If a man was when I lived with my ex-partner, the dynamics were completely different to what they are now. So a man brings a level of assertiveness, like a masculine presence that sort of can calm the home. The right man, anyway.
No, I see. I actually agree with your point. So then what would you say to those women who say, I don't need them, I could do it by myself, go away?
I think it's very easy to feel that you can do it on your own if you've left a really toxic relationship and you've been doing most of it on your own. Then doing it on your own is going to kind of be the right thing for you, maybe the right path for you. But you doing it on your own doesn't stop your children needing a father. So yes, I can do the cooking, the cleaning, the organising, the nurturing, but that I'm doing my part, but that doesn't stop them needing their part. So the children still need it. Like my daughters, so my youngest speaks to her dad quite regularly, and even though he's still involved, he's still the stepdad to my eldest, he speaks to my youngest more often. She's a teenager doing her own thing, so she said she wants to speak to him. She'll do it in her own terms. I was like, fine. And I can see the difference that between my youngest daughter having a father and then my eldest daughter not really having one. So I can see how essential it is. And yes, it can be annoying, especially if you're annoyed with that person.
What's the main difference?
I can't articulate it right now. It was in my mind a couple of days ago. But I can definitely see the difference.
Are they more confident? Are they more self-aware? Are they more vocal? Are they more happier?
Having a father shows you that you need a man. Not having a father shows you that you don't need a man. Or it's easy to do it on your own.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So I think it's easy for her to dismiss a father's presence because of the unfortunate the dynamics that have happened in her life, whereas my youngest daughter was a little bit more sheltered from what happened and why we're not together. So she's kind of just, okay, here's my mum and here's my dad.
Interesting. What's the most beautiful part of being a single parent? What are those parents who don't see their kids or don't want to see their kids? What are they missing out on?
So, 2 questions.
Yes.
Is there a beauty in being a single parent, or is there beauty in being a parent?
No, what's the beautiful side of it, being a single parent? There must be some beautiful, as much as all the burden is on you, the waking up, the finance, the emotional stress, like you said, you're not making only your decisions are made because you're being a terrible father. There must be the beauty side of it, like waking up every day, your kids are there, you've seen them, getting to know them, which a lot of parents or fathers or mothers who are not involved in a kid's life, they're missing out on. What are they missing out on?
The difficulty with that question is, in general, humans, we get complacent with things that we've always got access to. Friends, family, food, you get lazy and you get complacent with it. So when you've always got it, you kind of dismiss it. And just because your children are always at home doesn't mean you appreciate them as much as you do. And more people can appreciate their children when they have the dynamic of, if you're not together and you're co-parenting, you're there during the week, they go for the weekend, you can miss them a little bit and then they come back. They have that level of balance. When you're living in a home with your husband, your father, whoever, it can be difficult sometimes, it can be challenging, but when you leave, unless you go away for the weekend or something happens, you can look through the front door and recognise, I really appreciate this family life, as chaotic and difficult and challenging as it can be. I genuinely can appreciate this. But I think when you're a single parent, it's very hard to appreciate that you have your children all the time, because you have your children all the time. So I don't have any regrets, as crazy as it may sound. I don't have regrets about my kids in the slightest, but I think it's as they get older, I can appreciate that because of the person I'm developing a relationship with them. And I think that's a beauty you get to have. As your children age, you need to parent them differently as they get older. And it's very much about modelling and communicating with them, rather than you're not teaching them like independent skills, because they've already got a level of independence, but it's very much at the age they are now, talking to them about the world and what's going on in their life and how they're feeling, and school and just life in general. Like, I gave my daughter a life lesson about friends yesterday. I was washing up and I was like, oh, come, let me talk to you, this, the other. And she's like, Mum, I've learned that already, or we can go back and forth. So those kind of things you get to appreciate, but it all depends on the type of person you are as a parent. But I think it's hard and challenging to fully appreciate your children when you do have them all the time. If you get in a break, then it's different. But when they're there all the time, it's... A lot of people use that phrase that you said to me before on the phone about, you get your time back. Now they're getting older, you get your time back, and time is yours, and no, he can do this and she can do that. And it's like, actually, no, I do love it. I do want them there. I don't want them to go. But yeah, those kind of things I do appreciate.
That's amazing. I mean, some parents just want the kids to go away for the weekend, and I see what you mean. Once they're gone away, it's just you by yourself, have fun, and you realize the house is quiet and it's too quiet, you're uncomfortable, and when they come back, you're like, it's just so much. So no, I understand and agree with that point. Would you say you're a nice person?
I think so.
No, I only asked that because being a nice person and being a nice parent like go together, and some people think they're nice people but they're not nice people, and then they pass that on to the kids.
What do they pass on to the children?
Their behaviour,
such as
being too pushy, being too nosy, being annoying, doing horrible things, being unkind, not teaching the right mannerism.
So give me some context on what too nosy, on each one of those fit into a parenting situation. Because you can't help the character that you have. Like, unless you say, do you know what, this is how I am and I need to change it. This is just who you are. So you're not going to be able to be less annoying if you are annoying. Unless your children point it out. It's like, of course I'm annoying. I'm your mum. Your dad.
But that's what I mean. So if your kids or your partner points out, Mum, you're being annoying, or Mum, you're being too controlling, and you still don't take that on board, and you say, well, because I'm just your mum, then you're pushing people away. Whether you want to or not, you're pushing your partner away, and it's only a matter of time before your kids become of age that they can challenge you. But because as a parent, you was like that to them for several years, they then become that, which you said at the top of the show, we take on what our parents teach us. So when then your child goes into her journey in life, now she's that annoying person. She's that pushy person, and they're pushing people away.
But it depends on who's doing the viewing. So I'm going to see who I am as a person. I'm going to see myself when my daughter becomes 19, I'm going to see myself at 19. So I might see and think, oh my God, she has got similar mannerisms to me. And I'm not trying to mold her character, but I can see myself in her and then wonder how that's received by other people. If my behaviours are received well by other people and no one's complained and I don't see a problem, then there's nothing for me to change. But if I see it in my daughter and other people find it challenging, then I can talk to her about it. But you can't help what your children absorb from you. You can't wake up today and say, all right, I need you to absorb what I do in the morning, what I do in the evening, what I do at night. You just are who you are. You can't be perfect, but when you see something and you know that it's challenging or wrong, and your children say, yeah, but Dad, you do that, you have to pause and think, well, actually, yes, I do. But some parents may do that and be like, yeah, but I'm your mum. I'm telling you different. But that's when, as individuals, you have to take a self-reflective point. But not everyone wants to
So
self-reflect.
when you take that self-reflection, it comes to a conclusion that you're a nice person.
I've found the word nice. I didn't understand the word nice until recently, and how damaging that's actually been to myself, because I would say I've always been a nice person, but I would say I need to be more of a kind person, because a nice person gets walked all over. Oh, she's really lovely. She's really nice. You can go and ask her. Go and ask. Not like I'm just speaking out loud. You know, people that are nice rarely have boundaries, and always, I think, can get taken advantage of. But being kind but having boundaries is the right kind of dynamic to be.
So you're no longer a nice person, you're a kind person.
I've always been both, but I would say I'm implementing, let's say, I'm standing up for myself a little bit more.
And you see that? I think that's vital. And I think you're right. A lot of nice people really, really do get walked over. Like, really. And some people realize they're walking over this nice person. And some people do it without actually realizing it. But either way, the results are the same. And the nice person just carries on being nice. So I strongly, strongly agree with what you're saying. Being kind, but have boundaries. Like, look, don't, please, let's... we can go to war if you want to, but we don't want to go to war. So that's crucial. So we've got 2 kids, 5 years apart. What are the requirements now that you developed, now that you've grown and showed growth and maturity? What are the requirements to picking the next partner? And are you willing to have any more kids, or is 2 enough?
Oh no, I have more kids.
You want more kids? Yes.
And I would say the requirements for the next person would be more about having a level of maturity within themselves, being able to communicate.
How do you make sure they're all these things?
You're asking a lot.
We need to learn, because what you need to realize is at 19, you chose a partner who's abusive and this, that you didn't see the signs. At 25, you pretty much repeated the situation. You just picked up 2 things. He doesn't have to be abusive and he doesn't have to cheat.
That's what I can remember. There may have been more.
But just on a nutshell, things.
Yeah.
And as you said, people are seasonal. You said people are seasonal. A lot of people were picking people are seasonal and using them for the wrong things. So if we can now have things in place, like, okay, I need a partner who can do this, who can cook, who can clean, who's kind. Just this thing, just
I
hypothetically. How would you go on to make sure you're not a single parent for your next kid again, because you want more kids? And then viewers can say, you know what, maybe I can try now.
I think it's really important to focus on people's character, and not that I want them to be able to do this. I want them to be ambitious. I want them to have money. I want them to, I don't know, whatever else is out there at the moment. But I think it's important to focus on someone's character, because their character is going to be the one that gets up in the middle of the night, not the cars that they drive. Their character is going to be the person that is able to negotiate their working day to be home with a sick child, or is going to be the person that picks up something for you from the pharmacy when you're not well, or that's how women can tell whether you're going to be a single parent to a degree, is how well do they look after you when you're sick. Because I used to work in a mother and baby unit, and I thought about the women that were well, were becoming, getting well, and the women that took longer was the women that were well supported. And if you're in a relationship with someone and you're thinking about making them the father of your child, they may be a really great father. Doesn't stop them being a great father, but they may not be the right person for you in a relationship while you're pregnant, or just being that co-parent. They might be great to your child, but as a partner, they might not be that great. So look, how do they treat you when you're in a vulnerable position? Is it kind of just like, just get on with it? Because when you're pregnant and you're going to be complaining about similar things, how intuitive are they? How supportive are they? How how responsive are they to your increased needs? And so when I'm looking for another partner, it's going to be very much on their character in situations. Not, oh, he takes me to a nice restaurant. It's how does he treat that person that works in the restaurant when we're going to the station? How does he treat the people that he can't benefit from? He can't benefit from this, person in Tesco's. How well does he treat them? You can treat them like shit because he can't benefit from them. What does that say about him as a person?
That's a valid point. So then are we saying first date, you go wherever? Let's say Nando's.
No.
Second date? No, let me finish.
You're not selling yourself to women if you're going to take them to Nando's.
Not me. I'm just trying to get your tact. So first date, Nando's. There's nothing wrong with Nando's, by the way.
There is nothing wrong with
I would
Nando's.
take anyone on a first date to Nando's.
You probably won't get anyone
right
right now.
If you don't want to come to Nando's with me, then I know your character.
No.
Alright, so let's say first date Nando's, just somehow get away with it. Second date, sexy fish.
No.
Get away with it. Sexy?
Do you know what? So
I'm just let me get to the third date. Let me get to the third date.
Okay.
Let me say, then the third date, he called you up and he said, no, "I'm sick. I can't come out." And then, do we see how he look after you? Then he's a catch. Because
I say I'm sick.
Yeah. Just trap him to see if he's going to look after you.
Yeah.
So
I say if I call you up and I say, "Oh, I'm feeling really unwell. I've got a migraine." Your next question should be, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do for you?" No, there isn't. Okay, let me know how you're feeling. Oh, I'll check up on you a couple of hours time or tomorrow or something. Or I might say, "Don't worry, I will contact you when I'm feeling better." So your next question, if your friend says or your mum says they're not well, is there anything I can do?
So if you say, "Don't worry, I got this, I'll contact you," do you then expect him to check up on him, or is that a trick question, or do you leave it till you contact? What do they do?
Well, I think a good person would just check. Like if you just said, "Oh, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just, hey, I'm just checking in." There's not really an excuse, especially nowadays. If you're always on your phone, you can make comments on other people's posts. Then what harm is it to do? "Oh, hi, how are you? Just check, how's your migraine? How are you feeling?" It shows care and consideration.
That makes sense. That's common sense. Now, let's go back a touch. So, my first date, I said Nando's. You said not good enough. Second date, sex. What would your first date be?
So, I didn't say Nando's isn't good enough for a first date. I don't believe that eating in restaurants actually tells you anything. Everyone wants to eat, so you're going to do it regardless whether it's with me or not. So if I were to go on a date, I would be suggesting what I would want is an activity or something that appeals to my interest. So I like nature. So if you said, "Let's go for a walk by the river," then you've been listening. But I want something that appeals because I really like the gym. So that's both.
I'd rather go to walk for river than Nando's anyway.
No, but we'll go afterwards.
Nando's?
No, we'll go to a walk first and then we'll go to Nando's.
See how complicated it's getting here.
It's not getting complicated. Yeah, but think about it. If we meet at 1:00, we're going to eventually get hungry. So you can say, "Oh, okay, do you want to go out for something to eat?" You
like nature? We can get some apple and fruits we're on a walk.
Well, did you bring one? Did you bring them? Or
yeah,
have I got
of course
to pick
I have a banana and an apple and strawberries, yogurt, some cream.
And then you might say, and it's like, okay, it's getting to 4:00. Okay, so
then I'll walk you home and have a walk.
Okay, well then that's absolutely fine.
Rasta, whose date here is sounding more complicated, mine or hers?
I'm not gonna lie, I'll walk with some apples, bananas, and strawberries. Sounds pretty simple to me.
But then Nando's after. See how she threw in the Nando's after.
Yeah, if you want to. You really keep asking about Nando's, so I'm just letting you have it.
That's true. And the second date will be?
Maybe like an activity, like
another one.
What would you like an activity? What would you
first
like
date activity? Oh, so I choose the second date.
So what would you like the second date to be if you're dating?
No, do you know why? I'll tell you why. For me, activities is not a good idea for me personally on dates because I'm very competitive.
Me too.
So I got that Nate when I win, I actually rub it on people's face. So it's not a good idea. Because on
Yeah,
my
but at
first
least-
date, the person will be very upset with me.
Yeah, but think about it. That means that your character gets to shine through first of all. And instead of carrying on dating and then finding out 6-7 months later that this is what you're like, I get to see in the moment, could I deal with this if this actually happened a lot more times? Or am I going to say to myself, I like him enough to know that we're never going to do activities ever again?
I agree with you, but the problem with that is because you don't know the person well enough.
So
Like
you're putting on the front.
No, you're not.
Yeah?
Putting, no,
Yeah,
you're
you are.
not putting on the front. It just, when we know people, we can tolerate who they are first before that knowing them. So, for example, I'm gonna give this landish example, right? I wouldn't do this, ladies and gentlemen. Just landish. On the first day, you meet me and I just keep farting. That's a no-no.
Like me.
Am I coming back? Am I coming back? If you meet, no. Let's be honest here now. Come.
It sounds like what something I would do.
She just flipped it. Gents, late.
Alright, if I was farting, would you say-
don't flip it. Don't flip it. I'm farting on the first date. Like, I can't believe she just. Do you know what? I think we should give this to Rasta.
Yes,
Rasta.
give it to you.
You go on a date on the first date with a female, and she just keeps farting. Are you gonna see her again?
I don't know this.
And they're smelly farts, Rasta.
Oh, I'm not doing well.
Everyone around you just wondering, is that him? Because they're gonna see the female, they're gonna assume it's not the female. So they're gonna. Rasta, what are you doing on that day? Are you coming back?
No, I might have to keep it moving.
But the point I'm trying to make is,
Okay.
if on the first date, this female that you're dating holds a fart in, right? And then you get to know her a bit better and you like her as a person.
Little bit gets let out every time.
Just one fart a day. till she gets to a point where she's comfortable. You cannot joke about that. Because you know her. And that's the point I was trying to make. I know it was an out there point, but yeah, please don't fart on the first dates, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't want to hear, this was me, I just wanted to make sure you can handle me. No, because no. Sorry. Let me let's get to know each other first.
Before you let
Because it's been, everyone has happened. It's happened before. You're out somewhere and then just let out a fart accidentally. It's awkward. Like, it's really like you looking around, you thinking, did that person hear it? I hope they didn't. And that person's thinking, did he just fart? I'm sure he did. It's that awkwardness. But if you know the person,
farting doesn't determine the character of the person. I can cope with farting a lot over, let's say, I can cope more with farting over someone being really arrogant because
Yeah,
it's
no,
the
I
character. Because
agree
you could
with
be
you.
the loveliest person, but you've got really bad digestion habits, which can change. Because if I saw that in someone, I'd be like, let me just text you, do you need some CMOS? Because you was like letting it off. Then you wouldn't be farting for the rest of the relationship. But if I let you go because you're farting and then and then I see you getting married and the woman's like, yeah, he's got amazing character, we cleared the digestion. It's like, if I had made that suggestion, you might be allergic to gluten.
but
And I say stop eating gluten, and you're like,
point I'm trying to make.
yeah, but you said if someone was fighting on the first date, you probably wouldn't want to see them, which in reality is true.
It's sad but true.
It's sad but true. But if you showed me enough to want to go on a first date with you, that might just be, if you're like, oh, you're just bad mannered, then it's not just farting that I'm going to see. I'm going to see like you eat badly. You're just...
What's eating badly?
Well, I keep saying I'm talking about myself. But you're just like... Just complete mess and just like... It's
who's the food?
It's everywhere. You know, just someone you wouldn't want to sit in front of. Yeah.
Like someone who's fine.
Yeah, but I might apologise and be like, I just found out I shouldn't eat bread. So I'm really apologetic about it. But you like me enough to still want to see me again. But
Not
if
on
you
the first date. I'm sorry. And I'm not normally like this, but yeah, because no, not on the first date. No, because it's like, you know what? It's like a job interview. Job interview, you don't bring your true personality there. You don't. You bring a front. You bring your best version of you.
Do you think this is my personality or I'm putting on a front?
Right now, well, you haven't farted. I'm joking. I think this is you.
This is our first time meeting.
Yeah.
So I haven't put on the front.
Yeah.
So it's like a job interview. I've brought myself. I haven't hid myself. My CV is a fake reflection of the fact that I want the job. But in front of you, I'll be putting on who I am. I can't hide that. I'll be on my best behaviour and I wouldn't be swearing, but I'm going to be putting on my true self. Like we just met today, and I put on my true self.
The difference is the consequences after this meeting is not as irrelevant as if we're dating. The consequences, we meet today, had a good time, enjoyed the show, we never have to meet again. You know, I mean, we could, we should come back again, or we see at an event, but there's no like, you know, even we said you're gonna come back again. Hopefully you do agree to come back again. We're not saying next week. It could be next month, 2 months, 3 years down the line, or whatever it may be. Whereas on a date, the consequences are high. You know, I like this person, she likes me, he likes her, whatever it is, and you want to see them again, so you want to impress them. And it's the same with the job interview. I think, okay, it goes down to the consequences. What are the consequences? It's like when you go clubbing. When people go clubbing, when people go weddings, they're not a true reflection of themselves. You know, they wear the makeup. No one wakes up looking immaculate. You don't wake up with a suit. You don't wake up smelling fresh.
This is why I believe in being authentic as possible straight away. I'm not saying you should go on a date.
I agree with you, but
and
society
be like,
has taken that away from us.
Yeah. But I'm not saying that you should be, you know, having all your worst characteristics shown on a date and saying this is me. But I think that's where we have problems in relationships, and where a lot of people say, I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know it was like that, because you've been holding back. You've been wearing a mask. You've seen this person, so you've wanted to impress her so much that you don't really truly reveal a full reflection of who you are until you get the baby, you get the wife, or you get the husband, and then you can only wear a mask for so long. But that's the problem. If you go in wearing a mask and not being authentic, that's what I think is a problem.
No, I agree with you, Ms. Cam. It's been interesting. It's been informative. How do you want to close this show? What message do you have for parents out there, both men and women?
Just try and develop a relationship with your children as much as possible. As they age, it's going to look differently to how it looked when they were significantly younger. So as they're older, appeal to their best interests. Actually get to know them as people, so that relationship can continue forever and ever. Amen. You're not trying to be their friend. You're still their parent, but it's important that you know who they are. You take an interest in who they are. It's not just obey, because once they get older, they've got no obligation to be any more to you. They will always be your child. They may have a relationship out of obligation, but you may not never know them. So I think it's really important that you get to know your children.
No, I strongly agree with that. Thank you for coming on, Ms. Kate. It's been interesting. I think you're very thought through your next decisions, even the way you articulate yourself. I think you've come a long way from when you was 19 to now. I think your kids are definitely, from what I know of you so far, the kids are in good hands, and I think that's what we can do as people to try help the next generation. The best thing we can do is just work on our kids. If you work on your kids, I work on my kids, he works on his kids, and when those kids come together, they've got the basics already from us as parents, and then they can only take take it higher to the next stage. So I
But
appreciate
by
you.
working on yourself, you work on your
That's
children.
mandatory. That goes without saying. And again, that goes exactly what you said earlier, was that a lot of people don't put the kids first. They put them. And I think if you haven't worked on yourself enough, you won't be able to have the foresight or the intelligence enough to say, you know what, I'm being selfish here. I'm using my kids instead of loving my kids and making it right for them. Because I haven't worked on myself. It's all about me. You know, what I want. Don't care what my kids want. Don't care what my ex-partner or whatever previous ex-partner wants. It's all about me, to the detriment of others. And obviously that's in turn, it's not going to make me happy because my kids are not happy. And it goes to what you said as well. We are an environment of our products. You know, our mum, we see mum always upset, mum's always shouting, mum's always this. It goes back to what your ex and you said. He grew up in a household where it's quiet. You grew up in a household where you speak at a higher decimal. And the kids, we pass that on. And then my kids meet your kids, two big mess, boom, it's an explosion. And that's going to carry on and carry on. And as I said, I think we should work on your kids, work on yourself, that's mandatory. And then work on your kids to make them the best version of them. And everyone else does that. Instead of trying to save everyone else, just save you and your kids. Her and our kids, him and his kids, and when they get together, it's a beautiful thing. No, we appreciate you. We thank you, and you're definitely coming back and brought a gift, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the gift. We're gonna promise to look after it the best way that we can. Rasta has volunteered to make sure it's in good shape and still alive. Thank you, Rasta. We appreciate you for that. That's it. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming on.